thank you for sparing time and joining us for this interview today. And congratulations for scaling up Zafresh to such heights. As far as I know, today Zafresh is India's only trustable platform to get fresh, hygienic meat and chicken at your doorstep. Company is fast growing in terms of coverage, product, and number of orders processed per day. Company has also won
Right.
trust and investment from Amit Burman, Sidbi Ventures, and Ashwin Chadda.
See, I mean, I'll tell you the conceptualization, how a disruptive idea comes in your mind and you get into it. It is not a overnight thing for sure. I come from a very humble background, and keeping that in mind, my long-term goal was to set up something of my own. So no matter what I was doing, my mind was always to, okay, what do I do next? What do I need to do bigger? Okay, and somehow I had a plan, in hindsight, that by the age of 30 I need to have something of my own, and that's largely was driving me to do whatever I was doing. So if it leads to having something of my own in long term, that is something which was related to me. So even the jobs which I was pursuing, consciously looking at doing 3 jobs in a time, or consulting assignments, and doing a lot of things to really understand what it takes, and also what it doesn't take. So what you need to do and what you don't need to do actually happens by a lot of trial and error, in my mind. A little bit of support, from your friends, family. I think with me, it was not the case, because I was more like a loner, trying to be myself, doing things in my own way, being stubborn about a certain thing, being very, very focused. I think it took a lot of energy to, on a daily basis, I should say, that no social life, no friends, no relatives, nothing. It was always one single focus, that how to beat the madness, how to be the best in what I do, and what is that? What is the best which I can do? So I think raising benchmarks and having basically competing with yourself daily got me here, and not being able to really accept the status quo was a major driver. And no matter what you achieve, you need to still achieve in the next phase of your life. Unless you do that, then I think you are still at the same thing. You are static in your growth. So you have to have that constant improvement and constant growth as a trait, as a person imbibed in you. Then only you will be able to have that kind of principles in your work. So it's just mostly, I'll tell you frankly, it's to never be satisfied, and never be complacent about what I can do and what I can't do. So a lot of people do think that, okay, this I can do, that I can't do. I don't think that's the right thought process. The thought process is what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Stick to that vision, that what you want to do. I think asking yourself questions on an everyday basis will gradually get you to a place where you are doing what you want to do.
So I think vision and clarity is at the foundation of whatever you are today. I think that is very well said. I think I'm absolutely in sync with you. And so I'll move back to
but vision and clarity doesn't come easily. That's what I'm saying. You have to work to even get that vision. What happens is that people are working towards achieving short-term goals. For example, I want a car, I want a house, I want to go international trip, or I want to do this. What do I have to do that? Like, is I have to land up a certain job so that I can do that. Okay. So I think the thought process has to be changed. You have to think in a different way. You have to think of a problem in a different way. Ironing out your vision itself is a work. It's not that you have a vision, You think this is the right thing to do, and then you start working. It will never work. Be open about the vision also. Like, it could change. So I think when you need to be clear, it doesn't mean that you don't need to try. Okay, a lot of people think that my focus is not this. My focus is this. So why am I trying out other things? Okay, I think focus, clarity. This is a little evolutionary in process. It takes a certain time, and only if you're open, you will be able to get to the clarity. Otherwise you will get stuck. In a certain way of things. So first of all, find your vision properly. The process of finding vision and clarity is in itself a process. So understand that first. Right. Rather than saying that, oh no, I know this is what I want to do. This is my heart says this. So keep your heart aside for a time being. Be very logical about, how do you clear your vision first of all. What is the process of structuring your vision in life? So one fun thing for me was that I don't care about what I want to do. I want to try as much as possible. Okay, see what fits, and then once I know this is fitting, then I will further, get clarity in that fitment. Right. This was my style of doing it. Now, different people have different ways of doing it.
Right. So basically, if I have to sum it up, so one is I think you need to start from somewhere. You need to have some kind of a roadmap for you. Then you have to evolve it based on your trial and error method, basically, and it's a continuous journey. I think basically you can't stop it at one point.
Right. I think understanding the problem is more important than anything else. We don't spend time with the problem. We spend time in finding the solutions. Right. So how much have you stayed with the problem? Even if it will be as small as a problem that I am a poor person. Right. Okay. Immediately you will start thinking about making money. Right. Okay. You stay with the problem, saying that, okay, what is this problem of being poor? How does it happen? Why does it happen with me? What do I do? What do I don't do? I think staying with this problem is paramount. So stay with the problem as long as possible. And because the solution will come out of that, not from something else.
Perfect. I think very, very clear thought process on that. And
we are in NCR, we are in Chandigarh, Jaipur. We are largely north dominated. Okay.
Right.
And we are going to be soon in other cities as well. But so far we have been here. We have about 500,000 customers who have transacted with us once or twice, and we do about 25,000-3,000 transactions a day. Largely we deal in poultry, seafood, mutton, all those products. We work with the farmers to get the products directly from the farms and get to the doorstep of the customer.
Right. So that entire distribution is what you're owned by your Zafresh only, or is it tie-up with some other?
No, it's all completely owned by us.
Really owned. Okay, so you buy it from farmers, process it somewhere, and then it goes to.
Correct.
Great. So my next question is that with this obviously very obvious question nowadays is that how this COVID-19 is impacting your business right now.
Nothing really changed for us, frankly. Because our fundamentals were always hygiene. Our fundamentals. So today, what has happened is that two things have become critical. One is convenience of not going out, and another is hygiene. So these were the pillars which are with us. We don't have any other proposition, frankly. This was the only proposition which we brought to the table.
Okay, I think if we talk about your area particularly, it has more been dominated by a very large of unorganized sectors.
It's very loose. I think the regulatory compliance side is loose. I don't see it is up to the mark. I mean, not that we are of international practices, because India level there is nothing much where a lot of advancements in the category. So and authorities are not very cognizant of the category for sure.
Okay, so I think you are two co-founders. If I know that, you and Shruti, I believe. Right. So a very obvious question because I've seen working into an environment where there are more than one founder, right? It's not that easy. So number one, how do you address that challenges? And number two, how do you leverage each other's strengths?
Okay, so actually it's bang on. It's not easy, and we've had a lot of frictions. We've had a lot of disagreements. I think those are a part and parcel of the game. What I think is more important in any partner, more than skill, more than anything else, is the trust factor. What happens, when companies grow, and other startups also I've seen, where people become less transparent to each other, and that is why I think they start having more serious issues. But disagreements on work front, I think that's a normal thing. See, you have to accept basically each other. It's about it's just like having any other partnership, even having a relationship. If you are even married, what do? You have basic expectations of each other, and you accept certain strengths and weaknesses of the other person.
Right.
And just try to constantly look at what you are doing and focusing on your work. And I think that's about it. But conflict management and partnership is something which is, I think, very, very common. And I think depends on how one person is able to do it. The way I look at handling it is focusing on my work and my work properly, and whatever is the distribution of work which you have with the partner. I think accountability and ownership on that area, if it is there, then one can easily achieve what they want to achieve. But I think majorly it gets faltered into accountability and ownership largely.
Right. Okay. If you were to summarize your journey of Zephrest from the day you began and today you are.
So we started from a small idea, when it struck me and I could relate the problem. And then basically we were, we did research with the markets. We went to a lot of customers, understanding what are the challenges, So from an idea to doing a pilot from a small apartment, in a small apartment where we used to have a butcher who used to come. There was a room which we put a lot of plastic on the walls. I remember, there was a guy who used to, come for delivery in a flat. The vendors which we used to have, entire building used to smell very badly, and then we were thrown out of that place. That you can't work something like this in a flat. And then I think within about 3 to 4 months, we had to shift our base to a commercial place, and then even there we had faced a lot of challenges because a work like this, people are not very fond of having meat stores or meat cleaning sort of places. Even markets don't allow. So hunting places, eventually from there to finding initial customers. And even we have cut chicken ourselves. I've cleaned, I've packed myself, delivered it myself, talked to customers. I think I've done everything what an entrepreneur will have to do to build from idea to pilot to scale. And scaling up the business has been very interesting because over a period of time you've been able to understand how you can manage teams, how you can set up processes. Earlier which used to be more like a startup thing, you become a little more organized in their work, in the work side of it. So there's a lot of learnings, I would say, from a small company to a bigger company, one has to go through. And I think people management and getting the right team in place is the most important aspect of any business, which is what we have understood and learned.
Right. Great. So I move to my other question.
I think I am still very risk taking. I put a lot of things on stake. I put a lot of energy from my side. I don't hold back. That's not my style. Because I believe that there are no risks, there are no gain. You can't work when you're scared. Okay,
Right.
you can't achieve anything in fear. You have to be like, you have to believe, in a lot of things. And I think that's how people will also believe in you, because if you
Absolutely.
don't show that kind of confidence and you keep looking at fear, everybody else will also be fearful of investing in you or working with you. So
Absolutely.
that confidence also comes from risk-taking ability.
Right.
So if you don't have that risk-taking ability, you will, in my mind, you're not an entrepreneur.
One very personal question.
Absolutely. It's not that I haven't many times, but as I said, I'm a stubborn guy. So if you are stubborn, you cannot really quit. In my mind,
Right.
even if you want to quit, you will do something and you will be stubborn about it.
Right.
Even if
Right.
it's so. I think with me, I've thought of it a couple of times, but I somehow feel that I don't have it in me that I will quit.
Right.
It's like discarding your baby. Can you discard
Right.
your baby? If you have a son or a daughter, you get
Right.
frustrated with them, at times. What would you do? They'll still be yours, right?
Right.
So you have to give your soul to the business, and you can't get rid and you can't quit on your soul. It's as like that. You will think
Right.
about it, definitely.
Right.
You will get deviated, you will get distracted. Everything will happen. People will try to crush you, people will say no to so many things, so much negativity you have to deal with with people every day. You have no idea. So,
Great. I think bang on, and I think there's a lot to learn from you and a lot of inspiring, I think, statement coming from you. Okay, so I'll now move it to which is very near to my heart, which is called customer experience. So nowadays, I think customer experience is a very, very key buzzword for in the entire circle, and because it has the ability to create a position from a follower to a leader in any domain.
See, we keep it very simple. We look at a lot of things. See, customer feedback or customer loyalty, I think these days is important, but it's also a little complex. Because of so many different and taste and preferences which people have. They're getting bored very easily. They don't stick to one particular brand. I think
Right.
customers are becoming more smarter in terms of
Right.
what they want rather than what somebody is giving them.
Right.
And it's very. What I'm trying to say is that customer service and customer loyalty is extremely difficult in today's time. No matter what you do, no matter which extent you go to, if
Right.
there is something which is going to be referred to him, or which he sees something and it looks attractive and the experience is good, they are going to
Right.
try everything. First of all, the good part is that you will be given a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you retain that chance into a regular business?
Right.
And then keep building the recall of the customer. So it's expensive. My point is that retaining a customer today for a brand is highly expensive, even
Right.
if you're doing the right things.
Absolutely.
What we do is we are keeping ourselves very simple, that we want to give the best of the product. We want to be honest, towards what we are doing. Okay.
Great. I think other important point and challenge which I have seen especially when the company are growing, like when you are like company like yours, which are into an expansion mode, and you are expanding your territories, your numbers, your people. So whatever you decide in the core or maybe in the boardroom of the company, right? And then you hire, and then there are layers. It got delegated to level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. The customer experience generally basically the front level people. It could be your delivery. It could in your case it could be delivery person. It could be somebody who's taking a call, or somebody is interacting over a chat or a mail.
See, we have various escalation matrix which is there in various teams. So anybody who comes to know about any bad experience immediately escalates,
Right.
and that escalation is a very open, and it's not that one person, one particular department can only address to their problems. Their
Right.
problem is customer experience itself. Okay.
Right.
Everybody is working for the customer. It's actually, if you don't care about the customer,
Right.
if you don't care, your customer will also never care, about what you're selling.
Absolutely.
So and then we are having a lot of internal customer delight experiences which we share with different teams to see who did what, to delight the customer, including, a delivery boy, including, operations guy. It could be anybody, So I think those customer experiences we celebrate, and celebrating those experiences, has become a culture today in our organization. Frankly, we are looking to be profitable, specifically in the COVID times. We don't want to be a burn business, unlike other startups. So we want to make sense of whatever we do, and that is a constant, which is on an operations level. How can we bring value to the customer and our shareholders? If these two things we are able to balance, rest of the things take care of itself, in my mind.
If you have to sum it up into 2-3 do's and don'ts, I think.
I think one has to be. There are a lot of people who are confused today. That what do they do, etc. I'm saying that stay with that confusion. Don't get frustrated with the confusion. A lot of people get frustrated that I'm so confused, I can't do anything. There is nothing wrong with confusion, because I think confusion is the first step which will lead you to clarity. So it's all about that. Are you confused about the right things, or are you confused about the wrong things? Okay? If you're confused about, do I become a marketing manager or do I become an operations manager, and you're just thinking about this, I don't think it's the right way to do it. I think the confusion needs to be lived. Live the marketing manager life, live the operation manager life, and then get clarity, right? So bring clarity in your life by asking right questions and then following through on those questions in a very, very practical and experiential way. If we are able to do these two things, I think a lot of our problems will go away. So whatever you believe in, whatever you think, and you believe that you found the clarity in that part, immediately try to execute, or try to live that part. Don't delay, don't procrastinate. I think start now, start today. Don't think much. Go fail. It's okay. There's no problem.
Great. So here we are at our last question, which is very near to me. So when you first time heard the name of my book, what comes in your mind?
A very apt name. I think you've been able to sum up with these 3 keywords bang on. I'm very curious to know what all it will have, but I think I can relate with these jargons, and I was intrigued. I think I would say I was intrigued for sure. I was intrigued to open the book. I was intrigued to read at least one chapter to see what it is all about. How are you looking at it? That's about it.
And what's your definition of Junoon, Jurat and Jugaad in your terminology? Just nothing. There's nothing right and wrong.
I think these are the mantras for me in Indian context. I don't think there is any other way to be able to achieve success in Indian business ecosystem without these 3 things. So this is more like water, blood, and bones, according to me.
This is a good analogy for me to put into that. Great. So Deepanshu, wonderful talking to you. I think I have so much to right now put into the right context in the book, and it further validates a lot of my belief system in terms of the journey of an entrepreneur and how we fail and how we struggle and how we stand up again and why we need to stand up again. I think that is another important question, that sometimes you get into a trap that we created some kind of heroism in failing it down. So idea is not to become hero by failing. Idea is to become hero by failing and rising and then finding a solution.
Absolutely. Failure is okay. Failure is no problem. It's just that are you learning from that failure or not? If you're learning from that failure, it's fine. It is. That's how you will learn. So failure is a lesson, but how serious are you for the lesson? It is only about that, nothing else. Are you serious about the lesson, or are you more serious about the result? If you're more serious about the result, then you're never going to get it. Be serious about the lesson.
So thank you, Dipanshu. Thank you for your wonderful insight, your time, and all the best to Zephyresh, you and Shruti. And let's see that I want to see Zephyresh across globe. Why on few cities?
Sure. Thank you so much.